we'll cover the A to Z of influencer marketing. I'm going to give you the 6 steps of creating a successful influencer marketing campaign for your small to medium e-commerce store in this video. And most importantly, doing it with as little pain as possible. The goal is by the end to switch you from a person who says it doesn't work anymore into having it as a solid traffic source and revenue source for your store. The 6 steps are creating a strategy and a goal, defining your influencer avatars, sourcing and identifying red flags, effective outreach, expectations, terms and payments, and finally measuring results. My name's Aaron Jack. I've spent several million on influencer marketing, been in the Shopify space for 4.5 years, and I have talked to countless stores about their problems, what works for them and what doesn't. And I am the founder of the Partner Up app. So let's get started. Step number 1, strategy and goals. Of course, setting a budget is important, which will then dictate which influencers you reach out to, micro, medium, or mega size, and how wide you can cast your net. You also want to think about whether, like ads, you're going to go for an impression, brand marketing based approach, or a performance marketing / ROI approach. You may also have a new product launch or a clearance sale where you want to get rid of some inventory, and spending some time thinking about this helps with step number 2, which is defining your influencer avatars. When it comes to influencers, the first parameter is size. Micro influencers can be less risky because you can diversify across more people. They often have higher engagement, averaging up to 6%, where mega influencers over 1 million followers have closer to 1%, but it's not always as easy to scale, but there are definitely ways around that. Next, you have to think about niche, and this highly depends on your brand and products. A very niche product, a store I recently talked to, is someone like Tony Ray Tattoos. They sell temporary tattoos, and they've identified their ideal customer avatar as parents with tattoos with children between a very specific age range. So for them, they know exactly who they want to reach, but for other brands, it might be more of a discovery process. So maybe you have a protein powder targeted on athletes, and you want to test athletes in various different sports, amateurs and pros. So you'd want to go maybe a bit broader and then keep a close eye on every sub-niche. So we have size and niche, and the next limiting factor is your products. Depending on the variable cost of your product, sending out gifted products could add quite a bit of expense to your campaigns. This makes it less tenable to work with micro influencers because if each one is costing you at least $50 to $100 guaranteed, well, that kind of changes the math. However, if you do have at least a few low-cost products in your store, you can start by sending those out and then escalate to your flagship products later on. It's called the ladder step approach. We'll talk about that later. Okay, you've defined your influencer avatar, and now how do you source them? Well, of course, you can go straight to Instagram, YouTube, or TikTok, the big 3, and begin doing some keyword searches, hashtag searches, and look through the explore page. However, the interface isn't always the best for finding a lot of people. Another place you can look is tagged posts. So your own profile, who's tagged your brand, who already likes it, competitors' profiles, who have they done sponsored posts with, and get more ideas that way. Influencers in the same niche will often follow each other too, so you can look in the following tab as well. The unfortunate thing about this approach is it is time consuming, and there are what we call hidden stats or red flags. It's very easy to buy fake followers and even engagement on Instagram, so you probably want a way of avoiding those people. Audience demographics are important too. Traditionally, that's required the influencer send you a screenshot, but that can be out of date. It's a manual step that happens after you reach out to them. Now, the only real way around this is to use some sort of an influencer platform. Our platform Partner Up does pull all this data, but there are many alternatives out there too. Lastly, qualitatively, you want to look at their past posts. Have they done work with other brands? Are they doing too much work with other brands and they're oversaturating their audience with the selling? What is their aesthetic? What posts are performing best? This is just something you have to get a feel for, but it can give you a good upfront idea of what kind of content you can expect and if that's what you want. Because getting a content creator to create something outside of their normal style, while it doesn't always do well, if it doesn't match audience expectations. Next, let's talk about outreach and getting replies. So you've created your list, you've kind of filtered it down. Where and how do you reach out to them to get started? Now, you can go direct through Instagram. However, after you're dealing with people around the 10 to 50K size, your message is going to get put in with all the other message requests, so it can get missed in many cases. We've seen that reaching out via email works the best. Sometimes that's displayed on the creator profile. Other times you need a influencer search tool to automatically pull that. Now, what you send really depends on the person as well and their audience size. So larger influencers getting more requests, you might want to say more about your brand, sell it a bit more, and be a little bit less forthcoming with what you're offering. Now, smaller influencers, they're often short of deals. They want to do more work, so you can just send them the terms and conditions up front, as well as with some information about your brand. In general though, it doesn't hurt to personalize a little bit. And one trick here is to send case studies of other influencers you've worked with, how well they did, maybe even how much they earned. That's probably the best selling point you can offer to show that this is going to be a win-win engagement. It's important to remember though that any outbound process is a numbers game. So you're probably going to want to reach out to 3 to 6 influencers for every person you end up working with, depending again on size. Now, maybe what is the most important step? Expectations, terms, and payments. It can be stressful to set a fair price that's not too low or too high, and also to make sure you're going to receive high quality content, because many brands have a horror story where they did all this work and then got something back that was created in 3 minutes and just simply doesn't work at all. There's a few specific tips here. Sending similar examples that you've created, that other influencers for your brand have created as a starting point is a very good idea. So there are maybe certain selling points or benefits they're not going to be familiar with. Passing those on as certain phrases to insert, also very powerful. But providing a line-by-line script can come off as inauthentic, so you still want to emphasize they should match their style. Next, having the influencer agree to some sort of a contract, even if informal. Hey, if I send you this, we do expect content back, rather than just sending it into the void. Extremely good idea. Even if you don't enforce this, it is going to increase your probability you get something back matching these specifications. Finally, there's a bunch of manual stuff you usually need to do. Getting shipping address, getting PayPal details, sending reminders and follow-ups. No way around it, it's annoying, but there's various ways you can organize this. First is an onboarding process, so you can set up like a type form or just a simple form on your website to capture this info. Next level up is some sort of a CRM, so you can keep track of each influencer's status, when their content's due, what they're missing, and things of that nature. But of course, the best thing you can have is a fully automated system that's capturing the info. It is giving you notifications when things need to be done and automatically sending reminders. There are various platforms that do that, including ours. Now, all this sounds good in theory, but in practice, you still don't want to lose money. So here's a strategy I'll share that a lot of the top stores are using. It's called the step ladder approach. Now, what you do is you start off new influencers in a test group. You have a low risk campaign that is sending them out a low cost product, maybe with no payment, maybe with just an affiliate code. You see how it does, and you make it clear up front, hey, if this goes well, we can do something a little bit more serious that's better for both of us. If you're transparent about how that relationship could evolve, it is a extremely powerful motivator. Number one, for doing a quality post that first time around. Number two, for de-risking it on your end. So here's an example. Say you sell briefcases. You have a low-end nylon line and a high-end leather line. Your cost to send out one gifted product on the nylon line is $80. Now, what you can do is start on the nylon line with 10 people. You're gonna find a few outliers, people whose posts get a ton of engagement, they drive a lot of traffic, they drive a lot of sales. Now those 2 people, they're in your top influencers bucket. And next time you have a product launch, next time you have excess inventory you want to clear out, those are going to be your go-to people to send more products to. We'll talk about those long-term relationships a little bit more But first, let's talk about measuring that performance effectively. So if you set things up right, you will have a pool of data coming back after the influencer posts. Of course, you'll have the stats on that post, how many views, engagements, and similar. But in many cases, you want to set up some sort of affiliate link system with a discount code to purchase so you can track traffic and revenue. Now, of course, not everyone is going to use these links. Not everyone's going to use the code just because you can get direct visitors from this. So it's important to take each data point with a grain of salt and also look at them in relative term. Now, again, if you have 10 influencers, a lot of times, most of the results are going to come from 2 of them. And looking at the relative stats, even if they're not 100% accurate, is going to give you an idea who those outliers are. And of course, you're always going to have a few that underperform, but you got to think about it in the same way as ad campaigns. You test a bunch, you find your winners, and over time you get more and more wins. So in addition to doing future campaigns with your winners, you can also do something like the following. You can take your best 5 and do recurring content deals with them. So 1 post every week, 1 post every 2 weeks, and this basically gives you an in-house content team, ideally for less than the cost of a full-time in-house content person. Now, if you've ever worked with an ads agency, a content agency, you know the quality isn't always there. And that's because a lot of the best content creators are out doing it on their own, but you can still get the benefit from that without the risk by having your own mini team of content creators. If you set up the terms and conditions correctly too, you can probably repurpose that content into things like ads, into posts on your own profile, edit it for various promotions, and it just becomes very, very powerful once you start getting a lot of quality content. You can repost on multiple platforms, and it just becomes very, very powerful once you set up a content machine, and this is the best way that I know of to do it. Anyway, those are the 6 stages. Hope you learned something new. Hopefully there was something missing that you can start doing now. And in any case, thanks for watching to the end. I'll say again, our app Partner Up helps with all of this stuff, all the different stages, and makes it a little bit less painful. So we also have a generous free trial. You can check it out if you're interested, and I appreciate your time, and I'll see you in the next video.